Hi everyone, my name is Alisa Tilsner and I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Australia. In today's video I'm going to show you how I have watercoloured the image from the Ornate style stamp set, which is coming out in April. It will be part of the new annual catalogue, but it's an early release. So the new annual catalogue comes out in June, but this is coming out just a little wee bit early, and there's a whole suite that goes along with it. So, but I like to try and get away from the colours that are in the designer series paper. So I've only got the stamp to start with, so I can try different colours. So this is what we are going to colour in today. I've kept my card pretty simple, and so colouring is what we're going to focus on today. So I am working on fluid watercolor paper, and I have got my image, and I will be stamping with our saddle brown stays on instead of black for a different look. Okay, and it's a nice big image. There you go. Pop them aside for the moment. Okay, so the colours that I will be using for this one, for the green leaves, I'm just going to do bit by bit for you. So I decided the other day when I was having a play that I would put some colours together that I don't normally put together. So I have chosen Pear Pizzazz and Old Olive, which is my standard, and then for my darker colour I would normally throw in some Mossy Meadow because it seems to work really quite well with these colours. But just for something different, I thought I would use my Garden Green as my dark green because it's a little bit brighter, and I just thought let's throw caution to the wind and have a play. So what I will do, if you've watched a few of my videos, you've probably seen how I have coloured. I always do my light colour first, squeezing the ink pad to transfer some of the ink to the lid, and then using my aqua painter and my trusty paper toweling to wipe off when I need. So I'm just going to do, the first layer is pretty simple. So we just want to make a little watery palette going on here because our first colour is quite light. Now when I did the leaves in this one, I'm going to try it a little bit differently. I was quite formal with my blending, but I'm going to see if I can be a little bit more on the loose side of my colouring. So I am just going to zoom in a little bit so you can get a better look, and hopefully I can stay in screen for you. So my first colour is just popping down my Pear Pizzazz, which is really simple. So as always, if you've seen other videos that I have done, I will just do a couple of leaves and then I will full speed ahead, so you don't have to sit here for the entire hour watching me colour in every little detail. So first one is pretty easy, pretty quick. Throw your first colour down. So my next colour that I'm going to put down is Old Olive. So again, just give it all a squeeze. Now when I said that I was going to try and be a little bit looser, rather than be absolutely perfect, I'm just going to dab the colour on in the areas that I want rather than do the neater style, if you know what I mean, maybe. Okay, so let's make sure I'm in the screen properly. I'm going to grab some colour and then I'm going to start over here. So I'm just going to actually pounce it rather than paint it on, and it will leave me with a heavier dry line. So I'm just going to make sure that the darker areas are underneath and around the petals where any shadows would be. So you can see rather than painting it on, I'm just pouncing my colour, and that will give me more of a watercolour look. So when these dry, there should be a definite hard edge on them, not a completely blended one. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so I'm going to zoom ahead. And my final colour is the garden green, which is quite a brighter one, so we'll see how this takes to being loosely coloured as well. When I do the mossy meadow, I don't think I have a card near me that shows the mossy meadow, but it's sort of, because it's a little bit more in the same tonals, it sort of blends in quite well. So it'll be interesting to see how this one takes to my looser colouring. So let's apply this colour now. It's not too bad. What I did next is just come in with a little bit more of a deep colour. I'm not sure I'll be able to do this with this one. It's just picked up a little bit more intense colour, and just in the shadowy areas I just put in a little bit more colour just to make it a little bit more intense. Not in all areas, just in a couple of areas where I wanted the shadow to be a little bit more highlighted. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that next. Okay, there we have our greens. Now I'm going to bring in my original card just so that you can see the difference between my loose style of colouring and my more blended one. So I'm going to stand up for this so I can show you. So you can see here I've blended really quite well and all the colours have blended in together, but you can see with these ones here I've sort of left them, and you can see those pounce marks and a little bit more of the harder drawing lines. So it just depends on which one that you like, but I'd sort of changed my style midway through colouring this one, as you can see in my flowers. So that's why I thought I would try it on my leaves for this one. Okay, next we are moving into our flowers. I'll just get rid of my greens. So I'm going to do these two flowers first, and the colours that I'm going to use, they're all behind me. I'm going to use my petal pink. I have used this colour combination before, and I'm going to use Calypso Coral. I did one with the Forever Blossoms, so you can go and check that one out. But when I did those ones, I then put Cajun Craze in it. But I thought today, just for something really different, let's put some cherry cobbler. Well, not today, the other day when I was colouring. I thought I would put in cherry cobbler rather than the Cajun Craze, which, as you can see, is quite different when it comes to the tones. So again, I'm just going to do the same thing, and I will probably speed the majority of it up. I've got, if you need a re-inker, it's probably best to pop a drip. This is quite light. So the first one I'm going to do is the light one, and it doesn't take very long. It's a real quick wash. Second one, build my colour up with my Calypso Coral, and then the third one I will add the detail with the cherry cobbler. So I think I will just go ahead and speed up the whole three colours, and you can see where I'm still placing it. Just make sure that your aqua painter doesn't have any green in it, and if it has split, just give it a little bit of a squeeze and roll that point back in. Okay, I'll see you after I've finished colouring these. Right, so you can see that when I'm doing the cherry cobbler, I hope you can see, I hope it wasn't too quick, that I'm doing the dark shadowy lights, and then I'm just following, and I did it with the Calypso Coral as well, I just sort of followed the lines that are already drawn in. So a little bit in the shadow and then just extend it out where those lines are drawn in. Can't remember whether I did that one or not. So it looks a little bit messy, but when it all dries and settles down, it is quite fine. If you want to afterwards to try and smooth any areas out, you can just squeeze a little bit of water through your aqua painter, and just with water just come on and go over the top of it, and it sort of doesn't make it bleed and spread around, but it will just soften your areas. So I will sometimes do that, and as it dries it just sort of settles into the paper a little bit more. Okay, so they are the flowers. I'll bring them up so you can see how terrible they look up close, and as I said, once the paper actually dries and the colours settled into it, they sort of settle down and change style almost. So don't be afraid if you look at it and you go, oh no, that looks dreadful, because more than likely it won't look dreadful when it's dried. Okay, so next we are going to move on to these little flowers around the outside. Oh, I forgot to do my stems. But the thing is, I used Seaside Spray, which I think I am having issues with it reacting with water and painting onto the watercolour paper. I don't know whether it's just me or whether it's that colour, but I am going to change my colour for this one, and I am going to do Balmy Blue. So I quite like the purpley blue colour, but unfortunately it just won't work for me. And I'm only going to do 2 colours for these, so I'm going to use Balmy Blue and Night of Navy. So my first, so I will be using the blue, the same blue, for the light colour and the mid-tone, and then I'll come in with the Night of Navy for my shading. So I can pop that colour down. It's a shame because I really did like the purple toning of the Seaside Spray, but for some reason it just doesn't want to, like, it doesn't want to spread and flow on my watercolour paper, so it does make it a little bit tricky. I need to see whether anyone else is having that issue or whether it's just me. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and put down my first colour. Okay, and now my second tonings, I don't know whether you could see, but for my first tonings I sort of pulled a bit of colour out and made it a little bit watery. So for my mid-tone, I'm actually going to come into this area here and use some of the colour that's a little bit more intense. So you'll probably notice that on my lid I have got variations of how much ink is down, and I sort of use that as my intensity, if you will. So I'm just going to come around where some of the shadows are and then just add a little bit of, this one's really tricky, so I'm just going to dab on colour wherever. I don't think it matters too much. And then coming in with my Night of Navy, and I'm just going to go really lightly with this because it is such a dark colour compared to the Balmy Blue. So I'm just going to pick up some of the outer edges where I don't have a lot of colour. You can even drag that out and dilute it just a little bit more. So this is going to be my shadow, so I'm just going to pop it around any edges where one overlaps the other. So I don't really want to add colour, I just want to add a little bit of darker colour so that it looks like one is sitting on top of the other. And just go right along that line. I don't actually want to bring the colour into my flower. So you can see this group of flowers compared to this group over here. So you can see that sort of gives it a little bit of depth now and actually looks like a cluster of flowers. Okay, I think we're nearly on to our final flowers, which is going to be the yellows. So I just have to reach behind me And I am going to use so saffron, daffodil delight, and crushed curry. So once again, just starting with my light colour and working through to my darkest. And then just to finish off my centres, I'm going to use crumb cake and a little bit of soft suede. So with my crumb cake, I'm just going to dab it around this area. So I'm going to leave some of the yellow showing and then go a little bit deeper with my soft suede. Just add that around the edge. Just like that. And there we have it. We are done, except I've got to go back and do my stems before I turn this into a card. Now, rather than fussy cut that, I just decided I would use, let me just back off a little bit. I just thought I would use my nested label die and cut the image out. So it has cut off a few of the leaves and a little bit of the flower and over here, but I think it looks quite nice. You could even do like a wash of background if you wanted to. And to keep it really simple, I've just embossed the background. You can use whatever embossing folder you would like, and I have just finished it off with some of the champagne rhinestones. I think I have trouble trying to match these colours up with things, but because I've got the pinks in the flower, I think it works quite well. So there's the two different ones. Now for this one, you would obviously choose the blue that you've matched here. I've used the Seaside Spray in that one, but had a few issues with my colouring. But you could even choose the Petal Pink as a background. I think I might do that with this one and see how that goes. Wait for them to be completely dry before you do cut them out, because sometimes the the dye doesn't quite go through the paper if it's a little bit wet. So just bear in mind, I will wait for it to dry. So that is how I have coloured this one. It is coming out in April, but don't forget that Celebration is ending very shortly as well on the 31st of March. So make sure that you have got your orders in for all the freebies that you wanted to claim. And also, if you are in Australia, I have got a massive competition going on at the moment where you could win the entire set of Stampin blends. So I've used the blends to colour in this image here. So this one is also on my YouTube channel, so you can go and check that one out. That's coloured with blends. So details for that is on my blog, and that also ends on the 31st of March. So thanks very much for watching. If you've liked what you've seen, don't forget to subscribe and hit the little bell so that you know when I have a new video up. I do a lot of colouring in videos lately, so that's always good, and you can practice along with me if you wish. You can lay down the same colour as I am, pause the video and move on that way, so you can keep up and keep going. Okay, thanks very much. We'll see you in another video another day. See ya.